how do you build a calendar? And instead of just answering this, I think what we wanted to do is we wanted to do a little demo actually, just so that you guys could see this live. Me and Ben are going to go through the process of building a calendar for a full-on project that includes discovery, logo design, website, brochure, and e-blast. We're kind of currently doing this right now. We're midway through, or maybe a little past, on one of these projects right now. So I thought it'd be fun to open up TeamGantt and show you how we build a calendar. So let me exit out of my screen share here. And then Ben,
I'll share mine.
Yeah, cool. So can you guys see Ben's screen? Yep, all
yes.
good. Perfect.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can kind of see what's going on. TeamGantt is one of many Gantt systems. You can actually get an add-on for Trello that does a similar thing. It doesn't do this stuff as well, but what we want to do is we want to have this entire calendar filled with everybody's efforts, from the designers to the managers, and break it down by deliverable and milestone date. Because the whole point of this is to make sure that we're hitting the deadlines on time for the client. So basically what I've done here is I've created a sample project, and that whole process is pretty easy. It's just a single screen where you title it. But the first thing that I like to do is I like to make sure that I have all of my resources brought into the project. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and we'll start adding a sample task. Let's say copywriting. So you can see I've got resources already in this project between Ben and Matthew. I've got 2 designers, a developer, and then a couple of our in-house designers here. So if I wanted to add more resources, just click the Add Resources button, and I can head over to that People tab, and I've got all my assets. The nice thing about TeamGantt, as opposed to a lot of other project management software, is that you can actually put resources in there that don't require a login. So a lot of times we find we work with freelancers or an external development company, and we need to plan out their time, but we don't necessarily need them to be logged into the project all the time. So we can add them here without them being involved. It's just kind of like a placeholder thing. So let's say we need to add a writer. We just do, and we've got our copywriters here, so we'll add Amy. So she's been assigned to the project, and we can head back to our calendar. The next thing that I like to do is I like to add in all of our milestones. So for this project, I've got brochure and website here. And what I'll do is I'll add a milestone for ship the final deliverable. So let's say this is, and if you notice, where did that go? I lost my milestone. I'm gonna redo that, guys, sorry.
I think it will just tack on at the, oh, there you go.
There it is, okay. So we'll do deliver final. So from there, I wanna work backwards. Obviously there's going to be some rounds of revisions. So I'm gonna go create a new milestone for, deliver post round 2. Let's say we only have 2 rounds of revisions in our SOW, post round 1. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually take the milestones that I've listed here and move them around. So we know that if we're doing the final, we probably only need a week between milestones, and we'll just position them accordingly. Maybe we'll give this one a little bit more time. After that, it's just a reorganization, and then we add the tasks.
Right. So as you're doing that, just to give a little bit of visibility for everyone, usually with a lot of the projects, a lot of the things that we do, we space things out in 1 week iterations. We just find that, we can stack multiple tasks. Usually, like if we have one designer, they can probably work on two projects, jumping back and forth during the week. So we kind of space out our posting in 1 week iterations whenever we can. Obviously, with projects, the idea is that if we have a lot of time, it's really nice because that gives us time to reflect, make sure that there's enough time for everybody to review and give very thorough and clear feedback, concise feedback. When things get really tight and we're posting every day or every other day, there's less time to reflect, and sometimes people change their mind because they didn't have enough time to sit with it. And that's not really ideal, but sometimes it's necessary with certain rush projects. And we let our clients be aware of that. And we also plan for that. We also charge extra for that if there's some kind of rush project. And we know that, hey, there's going to be a lot of redoing in this situation because, it's just the nature of the thing. So as Ben is doing this, I just wanted to add a little bit of meta on that. That's why he's kind of spacing out a lot of these milestones over a week for every iteration.
But I also wanted to remind you guys that when you create these calendars, it's vital to include the feedback loop in it. Mm-hmm. This is one thing that we've learned kind of hard knocks when planning for time. When we work with other agencies or people who are used to working with creative shops or production houses, feedback cycles tend to be a little quicker. And then obviously you guys probably know, working with clients, especially direct to clients, small businesses, sometimes those projects are so near and dear to their heart that it takes a little bit longer for them to make decisions. So I add those in here as tasks. So I'll go ahead and put this as client feedback. And if you notice here, we've got design round 2. Now, each one of these lines is about a week. So right now we're allotting about 2 weeks for the revisions for this design. So that's probably plenty of time for that. But let's say we add in client feedback after the posting of round 1. So I'm going to add that here, and I'm going to give them 3 days. If it takes them 3 days to get back to us, all of a sudden our time for design and copywriting decreases from 2 weeks to about a week. So you can see, I'm going to start adding these dependencies here, and these dependencies will kind of keep the links of time together. So you can see, if the client decides to take a week to respond, that starts moving everything forward, and we're not able to hit this deadline, which may push this deadline forward, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you guys can figure that out. I've fleshed out the website side of things here a little bit through user research all the way through user experience design. And you can see it's a fairly involved process. It's a series of doing the actual work, posting the work, waiting for client feedback, and then getting back to actually doing the work. And it's a fairly involved Gantt chart. But the nice thing about Gantt charts is that you can directly communicate this to the client. So we will ship this calendar to our client so they can see where we're at in the process. And when the client decides to take longer for feedback, which is a pain point that everybody experiences, we can literally say, hey, look, check Gantt. If you guys want a couple of extra days, that's fine. But we're going to need to either increase the project fee, or we're pushing our launch date farther and farther and farther out.
Right. So it's up to them. There's two things that could happen. Do they have the time? Can they afford to push the delivery later? And then also, can we afford it? Right. Mm-hmm. So if we have the flexibility on our team where we could look at our resources and say, you know what, we have some pockets of availability later, it's okay if we slide our team over at no extra cost to you. That's okay. But at certain points, we could say that, hey, we have 10 projects going on. We scheduled and booked a team just for you on this one. In order for us to have this delay and stay on schedule, we need to bring on additional resources to get these tasks done on time. Therefore, we have to charge you a change order or an overage to make sure that we are able to get everything done per your schedule. So you can easily justify that. You can see that through the calendar here. And what's cool about all of these tasks that Banner is laying out is that you can add the progress on there. So each of these bars is a 0 to 100% progress. If you were to click in on one of them, he could say, hey, we're 50% done. You see how he's doing that? He's like, there's showing a percentage there. So you could just keep tasks like this. And this is awesome because we share this interactive calendar with the client. So they have a link to this. They could see it. And at any point, we could just say, hey, go check the calendar we sent you. And you can see everything that's been done to this point. You can see the progress and the status of everything. And we are keeping this up to date. So this is super cool. The dependencies are awesome because as you saw earlier, as Ben was sliding some stuff around, it's like, hey, they need an additional 3 days for feedback because they need to get the CEO and the CMO involved on this one. You could see how everything slides over. And that's the awesome thing about this tool. You just keep sliding stuff around and it will adjust a lot of things for you.
Right. So the other awesome thing is being able to assign the tasks to your resources and having kind of a bird's eye view of what everybody's doing. So I assigned the design round one of the brochure to 2 designers. I have it designer 1 and then Sang. And then I also assigned the sitemap round 1 to designer 1 and Sang. And if we scroll down to this area here, which is one of my favorite things, we can see that designer 1 has 2 tasks on his plate or her plate on these 3 days, and we're able to see what those tasks are. So down here, we've got, Min is looking pretty busy over the next couple of weeks. We're gonna have to help her out. But this is a really good way to see who's too overwhelmed, who needs help, and what we're gonna have to do as managers to kind of shift around resources and tasks.
Yeah, so each of those numbers there are the number of tasks that are assigned to them. So if you see some, like we said, Min is overtasked, but at the very bottom you see unassigned, meaning there are tasks that we have mapped out that has been assigned to nobody. That's an issue, and you could see, you know what, I need additional resources for those things, or you need to slide stuff around so that when Min is available, as we see here in late August, she has 0 tasks. We could slide some of those things later. And this is how it's just a bunch of Lego blocks, essentially. You have a bunch of pieces, or it's like Tetris. These things are coming down. These are all tasks and orders from your clients. And you just got to figure out the best place to arrange and stack them so that in the end, you're being the most effective and most efficient with how you're stacking all of these tasks. There's going to be moments where, you can't complete that row and then things are stacking kind of funny, and that's okay. That's where you probably have to charge your client more, or you got to find more work to fill in those little pockets.
So guys, this is a great tool. It's great for having transparency with the client, being able to share the process and stuff with the client itself. And it's also great for resource management. Now, for people who are freelancing or have other situations, this may not be appropriate. I mean, we really need this because we run many jobs at one time. But again, this is a fantastic tool. I highly recommend it.
And you could also, some other cool features, if you see active projects on the left side, you can do cool things where you can look at all of the projects at once. Meaning you can see all the tasks at once, you can see multiple, and you can see where things are stacking. So you can look at it through people. You could also make filters. So you could say, you know what, let me filter this calendar based off of Sang's tasks, and it will only show the tasks that are assigned to him.
Right. So Tracy had a good question. The people tab, is this everybody? It depends. So this people tab is associated with the sample project. And what I've done is I've actually imported our team or a sample team from our larger team database into this project. But some people can be shared between many projects. So we have this, Emily, Min, Sang, these are our in-house designers. They're shared between all of our projects. So if they're added to 3 different projects at once and they have many tasks going on, it's going to show up in that bottom section. Versus designer one and designer two, these are two unknowns. Maybe they're freelancers that we need to pull in on, on the project that haven't been figured out yet. Those are only used for this project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of our favorite for calendars, just because you could see if you're adding too much to one resource. Alexander had a question about the discussions. We never use the discussions here. We don't put our communication on here. We use this exclusively just for calendars. For communication, again, we use Slack, we use email, and we also use Notion, which we can get into a little bit later.
I think that's it. This is pretty much everything that we use this platform for. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, unless you have anything else, Matthew.
I guess Steve was asking, so who do you allow to use this tool? So usually it's just the project managers and the creative directors, people who need to move things around. We usually don't have the designers on this. Like, they have access to see the links to any of the projects that they're working on, but we don't give them the access to move stuff around here. This is just for us so that we can have global visibility on all projects and any particular projects. Like, we don't put the granular tasks on this calendar. We certainly can, but we don't use it that way. This is just for us to see. It's like, big picture, where are we at in this race? Are we halfway through? Are we 30% through? What's being delayed? What needs to move around? And where are we going to have friction because we're stretched too thin, or we don't have any work in this pocket, right? So this is just for us to help look into the future and plan ahead for those things.
And for me, I'm very optimistic when it comes to timelines and efforts and all that kind of stuff. So it helps to be able to say, oh crap, yeah, if we do delay this 2 weeks, we're not going to launch this site until November, which is a situation that happened yesterday. So it's a very good way to give yourself a reality check if you're an eternal optimist like me.